I am local. My name Shokhkal. I want job. How much? Salary? You give. Tamil?
Stop getting the wrong advice. Want a job in the Middle East? Contact Loy Machedo.
Hi there, Loy Machedo. Speaking to you from loymachedo.com. Who is Loy Machedo and Think Personal Branding? I was about to go to sleep when, lo and behold, we have from Reuters. It states that Israel and UAE have reached a historic deal to normalize relations with Trump's help. Okay, so what I'll do is I will read out what is actually given here. In between, I will also interject my thoughts, and I'll also tell you what I feel is going to help or is it going to be a threat. And, as usual, I'll state my analysis, but do give me your thoughts. Let me know if I'm right or let me know if I'm wrong, because I'll tell you this little move by Trump is going to benefit mostly Trump and the US. But the question is, how does it impact the Middle East and most importantly, the people who are living in the Middle East? Okay, so let's first have a look what Reuters has to say. So it says here, Washington Reuters, Israel and the United Arab Emirates reached a historic deal on Thursday that will lead to the full normalization of diplomatic relations between the two Middle Eastern nations in an agreement that US President Donald Trump helped broker. Well, obviously, because the election is coming up, and yes, he wants to score a couple of points because he doesn't want sleepy Joe Biden to take over. So he wants to show I'm an aggressive leader. I can make things happen. And I'll tell you, there were big, powerful strings pulled to make this happen. So, under the agreement, Israel has agreed to suspend applying sovereignty to the areas of the West Bank that it has been discussing annexing, senior White House officials told Reuters. Now, here's a funny bit, okay? Israel has agreed to suspend applying sovereignty. This was the plan of United States. Remember, Kushner went and did that nice, amazing presentation, 360 degrees, and then all the Arab Muslims, they just took and tore off this thing. Remember, the Kuwaiti, one of the Kuwaiti delegation took the proposal and dumped it in the dustbin. So this was United States' plan to annex the rest of Palestine. And, they did all these moves. Remember, what's her name? Ivanka Trump. She went down to Israel and they opened up this nice little embassy or consulate or whatever. So this was what US did. This is what US encouraged Israel to do. And now all of a sudden they're saying, okay, we're not going to do this. So you're the one who's instigating things and you're the one who's saying, no, we're not going to do it. Okay. The reason why they're saying this is because so they want the Muslims, the Arab states, to keep calm and say, see, listen, we are doing this signing of this deal is a good thing for all the Muslims. And trust me, this is going to be temporary because whenever they want, they're going to start it all over again. That is when people say, okay, fine, we keep quiet. Okay, let's go on. The deal was a product of lengthy discussions between Israel, the UAE, and the United States that accelerated recently, White House officials said, because of the elections. The agreement was sealed in a phone call on Thursday between Trump, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Abu Dhabi's Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. Why? Because UAE needs money bad, really, really badly. And US, well, it says, okay, fine, you need money, I'll help you out, no problem. Israel has a lot of money to invest if you, just close your eyes and let them invest. So UAE is a business hub. Keep that in mind. It's a business hub. It's not an Islamic state. Proof in Dubai. What happens? What goes on? You know what happens. You know the modern life. It's like Las Vegas. There's gambling there. There are women there. There is prostitution. There's so much of stuff going on there. So it's not Islamic. Okay, it is a business hub. It is like a tourist destination for money, for attracting money. And Abu Dhabi really needs, it needs to make UAE survive, especially now that Dubai and Dubai and Abu Dhabi are not looking eye to eye on a lot of things. Abu Dhabi said, fuck off, I will take charge. Okay, so that's what's happened. Now, let's read on. Huge breakthrough today. Historic peace agreement between our two great friends, Israel and United Arab Emirates. Trump wrote on Twitter. Don't take Twitter too seriously. Okay. In a White House Oval Office, Trump said discussions between the two leaders had sometimes been tense. He said, trying to be dramatic. He said similar deals were being discussed with other countries in the region. Well, obviously, he has to score points in the election. A signing ceremony, including delegations from Israel and UAE, United Arab Emirates, will be held in the White House in the coming weeks, Trump added. Well, UAE has to show, Qatar, fuck you, I am with Trump. Hey, 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 shake hands. So this is a competition between Qatar and UAE. Both want to be close. See, before, UAE took the back seat and allowed Saudi to take the front seat and, shake hands with Trump and buy all these weapons. But then MBS, all of a sudden, is no longer in the good books of USA, which is why they have this sudden new court case against MBS, which is nothing but absolute bullshit because, man, he's a bloody king. You make a court case, what do you expect? He's going to be afraid. So they all of a sudden decided, nah, Saudi is useless. Stay aside. So UAE said, oh, okay, here I'm, me. Okay, so now Qatar knows that UAE is trying to score points. Saudi tried to do it by buying weapons, so Qatar upped the ante. Then UAE joined in to put more pressure, so Qatar once again upped the ante. But now, Saudi doesn't have any more money. Remember the 2 trillion bazillion Aramco deal? Nothing happened there. Saudi, with all the billions that used to come in from pilgrimage, is not happening. So no oil money, no pilgrimage money, no money to fund Donald Trump's election or anything else. So USA is good friends with anybody who has a little bit of extra money or a little bit of extra benefit. Over here, UAE doesn't have the money, but UAE is giving a lot more other benefits to Israel, and USA needs Israel. Okay? Because so many Jews are there in United States. So, okay, so you're doing good thing for us Jews. We'll look after you. Okay, so then he says, everybody said this would be impossible. Trump said, obviously he has to be dramatic because he has to score points in elections. After 49 years, Israel and United Arab Emirates will fully normalize their diplomatic relations. They exchange embassies and ambassadors and begin cooperation across the border, including investments, which we are not talking about, both white and black. Okay. The US officials described the agreement to be known as the Abraham Accords as the first of its kind since Israel and Jordan signed a peace treaty in 1994. It also gives Trump a foreign policy success as he seeks re-election on November 3rd. He's going to score a lot of points with this. Netanyahu, in his first comment on the deal, said on Twitter, everyone's on Twitter, it looks like, this is a historic day for the state of Israel. Yes, of course, he should say that. Abu Dhabi Crown Prince said on Twitter, oh, wow, even he's on Twitter now, an agreement has been reached, and that would further halt Israel annexation of Palestinian territories. He wants to look like he's doing something good for Muslims, for our Muslim brothers. So obviously he'll say, see, I'm signing this as a sacrifice so that they will not annex, the Palestinian states. Okay. Then he says, during a call with President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, an agreement was reached to stop further Israeli annexation of Palestinian territories. Who planned that out? United States. Who made that happen? Israel. So all of a sudden, stuff that you decided to do, you have decided to stop temporarily, and you're calling this, oh, it's because of this deal. That's bullshit. The UAE and Israel have also agreed to cooperation in setting a roadmap towards establishing a bilateral relationship. Yes, of course, they have to see benefit. White House officials said Trump's senior advisor, Jared Kushner, U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman, and Middle East envoy Avi Berkowitz were deeply involved in negotiating the deal, as well as Secretary Mike Pompeo and the White House National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. They put all their names in to show that, see, they are doing some work. They are not just mere puppets following instructions, which they are. A joint statement issued by the three nations said the three leaders had agreed to full normalization of relations between Israel and United Arab Emirates. Okay, the historic diplomatic breakthrough will advance peace in the Middle East region and is a testament to the bold diplomacy, blah, 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 big words, big sounding, fart, 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 gas, 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 the vision of the three leaders, and the courage of the United Arab Emirates and Israel to chart a new path and unlock the great potential of the region. Good script writer, but boring words. Okay, Brian Hook, the US State Department lead on official on Iran, said the agreement amounted to a nightmare for Iran in its efforts against Israel in the region. Well, they have to portray someone as a bad guy because in a movie, if you have a hero, you have to have a villain. So here they are painting the bad guy as Iran. Remember, the bad guy is China. The bad guy is Huawei. They are spying on us. Facebook is not spying on you. Google is not selling your data. Nobody is, spying. All these after September, 9/11, after 9/11 took place, nobody was spying on nobody. Snowden was lying. What the hell with Snowden, man? And that other chap who was locked up, I forgot his bloody name, man. WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. They are all bullshitting, man. There's no, US is a good, is a good guy, is a really, really good guy. They are pure. It's evil China. It's evil Iran. It's evil Russia. Everyone who is against USA, like in Hollywood, it's always USA is the hero. All the bad guys are Chinese or Russian or, Muslims or, it's USA is always good. Rambo, Hulk, all the good guys. Okay. So Trump said this deal is a significant step towards building a more peaceful, secure, and prosperous Middle East. Now that the ice is broken, fantastic. I expect more Arab and Muslim countries to follow the United Arab Emirates lead and normalize relationship with Israel. Yes, everyone should normalize. You should all forget what happened to Palestinians. You should all forget the injustice. You should all forget the disaster that we did in Iraq. We should forget the disaster that we did in Syria. We should forget the disaster that we did with Egypt. Forget all that. Just will normalize everything. Okay. We are already discussing with other nations, very powerful, very good nations, that we want to see peace in the Middle East. So you'll probably see others of these Trumps added. Things are happening that I can't talk about, but they're extremely positive. Yes. US decides whenever it wants to be your friend, it'll say you're his friend. Whenever it decides, no, you're not my friend, he'll say, not your friend, which is a very dangerous thing, I'll tell you that. Okay. Delegations from Israel and United Arab Emirates will meet in the coming weeks to sign bilateral agreements regarding investment, tourism, direct flight security, telecommunications, and other issues. The other issues is mainly money. Okay, that's the main thing. And yes, they need to have a nice photo op because, that's good publicity. Okay. The two countries are expected to exchange ambassadors and embassies. Yes. The statement said that as a result of this diplomatic breakthrough and at the request of President Trump, with the support of United Arab Emirates, Israel will suspend declaring sovereignty over areas of the West Bank that were envisioned in the US peace plan unveiled by Trump. So Trump unveiled the plan and Trump decided to veil the plan and unveil and everything else. He decides to have it, he decides to cancel it. Okay. The agreement envisions giving Muslims greater access to Al-Aqsa Mosque in the old city of Jerusalem by allowing them to fly from Abu Dhabi to Tel Aviv, White House officials said. The joint statement said that United Arab Emirates and Israel will immediately expand and accelerate cooperation regarding the treatment of and the development of vaccine for the novel coronavirus amid the pandemic. See, they had to insert this also. They're doing so many good things. Wow, it's so amazing. Wow, they're even thinking of coronavirus. So many good things are happening. So, now the question is this good or is this not good? Well, I did a little bit of research through Wikipedia. Thank you very much. It's not that I know everything. Let's see what Wikipedia has to say. Israel is the only Jewish country which has enemies by its own formation. So what are the enemies? The Israel versus the Arab Muslims. Okay. Now, who are the Arab Muslims? Let's have a look. Or who are the Muslims? So in United Nations, you have around, say, 192 nations. In these 192, there were 31, now it's 30 because UAE is gone, 30 UN members that do not recognize Israel. Who are they? Okay. The 19 of them are Arab leagues. Now it's 18. Algeria, Bahrain, Comoros, Djibouti, Iraq, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Mauritania, Morocco, Oman, Qatar, Saudi, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, before the UAE was there, and Yemen. Okay. And furthermore, 9 members from the Organization of Islamic Cooperation: Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Brunei, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Mali, Niger, and Pakistan. And other countries which do not recognize Israel are Bhutan, Cuba, and North Korea. Now, have you noticed something here? Have you noticed? I don't know if you have noticed, but let me tell you, if you have not noticed, what you should be noticing. These countries are not very rich. They are not very hip and happening. They are not with the big boys and the big leagues like Algeria, Bahrain, Comoros, Djibouti, Iraq, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya. They, it sounds like a poor man's club, like Somalia, Sudan, Tunisia. They are all poor countries, and the only one that stands out with the biggest, the tallest, the grandest is UAE. Okay, then even if you see the countries in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation: Afghanistan, poor; Bangladesh, poor; Brunei, poor; Indonesia, poor; Iran, not so rich; Malaysia, Mali, Niger, Pakistan. Pakistan, Saudi squeezed its balls and asked for money back. So all poor countries, and Bhutan, Cuba, North Korea. So none of these countries are rich. So UAE decided, why the fuck am I in this poor man's club? Why not go to the rich man's club over there? So it says, fuck you in a very nice way. And that is where they decided to go. Now, let's understand the second part. What exactly is the problem with Israel? What exactly? See, the Arab countries now, they have almost 99.8% of the land of Middle East. 0.2% is what Israel wants and is claiming. 0.2%. But this 0.2% is the most important 0.2% ever. Why? Open the Bible and just take the entire, right from the time Adam and Eve till the New Testament, the 3,000 or 6,000 years, is all Jesus Christ, God, and all the magic only took place in that place, that Jerusalem and Eden, and just there. It seems God was only there. He was not in China. He was not in USA. He was not in Australia. He was nowhere else. God, Jesus, the entire world was only in that Middle East region. Apparently, God was nowhere else. Okay? So that is why that 0.2% is so important. So now, when you have that 0.2% of the Old Testament there, you have Christianity that grew from there. You also have Islam that grew from there. Okay. So now, when you have Islam, you have 2 camps. So what are the 2 camps? Islam is divided into 2 camps. One is Sunni and one is Shia. So let's see the Sunni and Shia. So I'll just move the fingers so you know which team is which. So they have been fighting with each other like cats and dogs for 1,200 years. Okay, plus. So now Saudi is Sunni. Saudi is Sunni. Shia is Iran. I know it looks like this, but it's not. Okay. So Saudi is the Sunni stronghold, and now you have Saudi versus Iran. Now in between comes Syria, which is Sunni and Shia cocktail mix. Okay. And that is where they want to convert into their own, like a full Shia or full Sunni. That is where Saudi and Iran both jumped into Syria and said, no, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. And they're fighting with each other, which is where US thought to itself, since anyway we created Osama bin Laden, since anyway we, created Fidel Castro, since anyway we created all these bad guys and, eventually we killed them off like Saddam Hussein, we create these bad guys and we kill the bad guys. Why don't we create another bad guy there? And, we can talk about it later. So there they created the ISIS. Okay, you can, maybe if I'm wrong, you can tell me if I'm wrong. So they provided the funds necessary, the money, And these guys said, oh, you're paying us money? Okay, we'll take the guns. Allah Akbar, and they'll shoot everyone. Okay. If you want any evidence to this, it's very simple. Where is the ISIS right now? They have vanished. How? Is it because of COVID-19? Is it because of the virus that suddenly they've stopped shouting Allah Akbar and, fighting over a religious war? No. Their faith is stronger than the virus. That's a fact. Their faith, their commitment to their faith, rather, is stronger than the virus. Why did they vanish? Is because cash stopped coming in. See, these guys who fight wars, they fight for money because there's no other career option. They don't think, I'm going to be a computer programmer. Oh, okay, I'm in Afghanistan. I'm going to be, they're running the next Microsoft. No. In Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in these countries, Arab countries, they think, okay, how can I make money? It's only going for these wars. Others, they have to carry people on Mount Everest like donkeys, So fighting is the way of life. So why would you fight and kill each other and get killed? Well, for money. That's what they do. So now here you have ISIS that was being funded thanks to USA, thanks to Saudi. But all of a sudden, when money ran out, they said, yeah, why the fuck should I fight? Fuck off. I'm going to go do some other work. Okay. So they went and joined some other company. Okay. So now you have Syria, which is Shiite Muslim Iran, which has been with Sunni and ISIS. And then on top of that, you have USA, you have Russia, you have all this, masala happening there. And then you have the war spilling to Lebanon. And there you have Iran with Shiite and Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah, US doesn't like them very much. Okay. And if that was not bad enough, now all of a sudden you have Turkey with Erdogan. Nice name he has. Now he is saying, fuck off to USA. And USA doesn't like that very much. US likes it if you respect them. Like Philippines, Duterte is saying, fuck you to USA, and they don't like it very much. Okay. Now, wherever the reason why these guys don't like USA is because wherever US puts its hand, it destroys a country. See what happened in Egypt. They bought their dictator. See what happened. Democracy, they destroyed it. See what they did with Iraq. When it was run by Saddam Hussein, it was perfect. But after they took over, it's destroyed. See what they did with Syria. Destroyed. So wherever they put their hand in, it somehow gets destroyed. They just have this curse. Okay. So now what do? What is the solution? The solution is, I don't give a damn. I will make sure that I get what I want. Now they're trying it with China. You see, all of a sudden, Huawei is a bad guy. All of a sudden, 5G is bad. All of a sudden, but just think for a minute, if it was an American company that would have done it, it is not bad. Now, if in case you say, no, US is a force for good, please explain to me WikiLeaks. Please explain to me Snowden's claims. Please explain to me all that. Please explain to me what happened after September 9/11. Why were they spying on literally everyone? Why is it that they can kill anyone? Why is it they can just do whatever they want and get away with it? Okay, why? Please explain to me this. So US is no saint, but in the media, in the eyes of the world, they have to be good. That is why in Hollywood, it's always Rambo who is good, but China who is bad, Pakistan who's bad, Afghanistan who's bad, Russia, like Rocky, it's USA versus Drago. It's always USA is good, is the force for good, is a hero, is the macho. The evil is Pakistan, the evil is Muslims, the evil is Chinese. Okay? So that's how it works. So now you have all the Muslim states, and then you have US with Israel. Now, what they're doing is a new strategy. Okay, let's rope in our friends, our Muslim friends, and show that we also have Muslim friends. So Donald Trump becomes friends of Muslims when election is coming, and when election is over, it becomes the opposite. Or he might even, he like how he had taken the election stand. Before running for presidency, Trump had Trump golf course in the Middle East region. He had Trump towers in Qatar and in UAE and in all these countries. But when he decided to run for election, no, Muslims have to be banned. So personally, I don't trust USA because USA is like the wind. Today is this side, tomorrow is that side. And wherever they put their hand, whether it's Syria, whether it's Iraq, whether it is, you know, whichever country, they destroy that country completely. They don't give a damn because they just, it's like a parasite. They want to succeed, okay, at any cost. And today, USA is a country that survives on debt, on nothing but trillions, not billions, trillions of dollars of debt. It survives on capitalism to the extreme. It survives on whatever manner possible at the cost of somebody else. So, what is my final analysis? My final analysis is this: UAE is doing the smart move, getting out from the poor man's club and going into the rich man's club. However, for the short term, that's a very good thing. But for the long term, I see it as a very dangerous thing. Why? Number one, it has a nuclear power plant. It's like having a balloon with which you just need one pin to poke it. That's the first one. Second one, if something does happen to the nuclear power plant, UAE is so small, it's finished. Number three, um, in order to keep your friendship with USA, you have to keep spending money. Saudi kept buying weapons. Qatar keeps buying weapons. UAE has to do the same. When you stop buying weapons, you stop being their friend. So that is why Qatar, Saudi, and UAE, just to impress, are buying weapons over weapons. What the fuck are you going to do with all these weapons? In the end, after you buy it, you have to give it to somebody. So you give it to these rebels, and they fight with each other. Okay. The next one is: do you seriously think that Muslims who do not forgive people if they draw a cartoon, they don't forgive you if you draw a cartoon, they don't forget even if you make fun of their religion, do you seriously think that they're going to forget years and years of oppression, years and years of pain, years and years of decimating the Muslim faith on, you know, for supporting Jews? Do you think they're going to forget it so easily? Ask any Palestinian whose family has been killed, children have been killed. Are they willing to forgive and forget and sing Kumbaya? Okay. And the next one, US. US is the one who gave the directives to, or the permission to, Israel. Go annex the place and throw all these Palestinians out. Make Israel yours. All of a sudden now they're saying, okay, fine, we'll stop it. Let's be good guys. This is just an election strategy. And last, if not the least, as we have seen through history, US is only interested in US. It doesn't give a damn about anyone. The Gulf region had unity before. They were the OPEC, they were the Gulf oil producing nations. But ever since the MBS came and he wanted to be greedy for power, Qatar started Al Jazeera and they got pissed off with this. And UAE and Saudi joined forces and they boycotted Qatar to destroy it. Then Qatar reached out to USA and made friendship there. And then Saudi jumped and said, oh, my friendship with you has been even longer. I'll buy more weapons to impress you over Qatar. Qatar extended a bid over more. Then UAE said, oh, even I'll put the money and buy weapons. And Qatar said, okay, fine, I'll spend even more. The question is, where does it stop? Now you have all the Muslim states, and I'll tell you, they're not going to keep quiet. They're going to look at this with anger. I would be very afraid of an enemy who doesn't talk. US keeps talking. China is quiet. Russia is quiet. Venezuela is quiet. Iran is quiet. And I'll tell you, that is something to be really afraid of. And now these other Muslim countries are now silent. They are watching. And I'll tell you this, they are having meetings right now, at this very minute, to decide what they're going to do next. I seriously, I don't want to wish bad, but I can tell you something, that all the years of pain and oppression are not going to be forgotten that easily. UAE is doing what UAE needs to do in order to survive, sustain, and thrive. But the Muslim Brotherhood, Islamic countries, they're not going to take this very lightly, because for them, more than the money, it is their religion, it is their pride, it is their the teaching. And Islam, as a nation, as a country, as a culture, as a race, even though Muslims are not a race, it's a group of believers. They, like Prophet Muhammad, he was a guy who fought wars, literally fought wars. They were men who died in battle. That's why you have one man with 4 wives or more wives, so that he could plant his seed or he could have more children. Because men would die fast in wars, women would stay and produce babies. And that is the secret why Islam is the fastest growing religion. You have one man, so many children, they keep multiplying and growing like rabbits. So they want more. That's how their religion spreads. So as long as you have that, and you have the teachings of Islam, and you have the teachings which these, preachers in the mosques give, they're never going to make peace with Israel. UAE in itself will have cracks within its own self. Abu Dhabi and Dubai, we already seen that. So I would say that short term, good move. Long term, you're making a very big mistake. And it's going to impact the country that knew itself or recognized itself as a security-driven country. Now, it's just a matter of time before we see something that will happen. And always remember this, bad news never informs you when coming. It never does. When it comes, it's going to come with full force. And then we are going to see the economy, we're going to see the trust, we are going to see the integrity of the nation crumble, and lots of people will take their money and run away from there. This is what I have to say. I would love to know your views. Let me know what you think. This is me signing off for now. Take care.
I am local. My name Shokhal. I want job. How much? Salary? You give. Tamil?
Stop getting the wrong advice. Want a job in the Middle East? Contact Loy Machedo.